I think that Oasis has a very particular approach to coaching, and it's one of those approaches that it's difficult to describe unless you experience it. Having the approach condensed into some headlines has been really helpful, particularly for people who are learning coaching, to get a sense of what's it like to coach in a whole person way. A whole person approach in coaching, I think, creates the conditions for the best possible chance of the outcome being successful. It's characterized by going beyond sometimes the narrow confines of what coaching used to be. So goal-oriented, future-focused. Sometimes what's needed is something different. So in our approach, we focus on what does the person need, and do you feel comfortable and confident, and is it within your scope to offer that? That, for me, takes people deeper, and it requires courage for the coach to do that, and for the person who's being coached to be willing to do that. People make the mistake in coaching of thinking, I do think this is a mistake, of thinking that they are just a service provider and they have to turn up and do something and it'll fix the person, or it'll whatever the intended outcome. In reality, it's a relationship, and it's a relationship that has a particular agreed role for the coach and for the coachee. And it requires work on both sides, like all relationships do. And it goes through phases like all relationships do. And there's a lot of gold that can be mined through focusing on what's happening between you and me at the moment. For that reason, we say we take a relational approach. Oasis also uses a model, a 7-stage model of how relationships work effectively, that in coaching is really powerful. So we've recently published a blog about coaching pitfalls. For me, taking too much responsibility, which you can find on our website, taking too much responsibility in the coaching relationship is number one pitfall. It's the easiest one because we're keen to do a good job. We're keen to sometimes prove ourselves, prove that we're worth being your coach. And it skews things. So it forgets the fact that the other person has agency and that they can act themselves. So stepping back a little bit from, I'm responsible for the successful outcome of this. When I trained as a coach, there was a lot of talk about, I get people to this level, otherwise I failed. It doesn't work. They have to have some commitment in there too. Commitment to act on what they're learning, for example. So we will often talk in our coaching relationships about where's your responsibility in this and where's mine. And I think my responsibility is to turn up, use my skill and expertise and create space. Their responsibility is to step in and make the most of it. I think it's really vital that coaches keep learning and developing, full stop. It's not just a set of skills that you learn, it's a way of being, and that's a lifelong commitment that you need to have if you're going to do this. It's such a privilege to work in this way. So there's lots of ways you can do that. I think they are absolutely wrapped up in learning more about what it means to be human. So there's skills and techniques you can learn as a coach through continual professional development days. That's really important, but it's not the most important thing. For me, it's about learning about yourself. What makes me tick? What triggers me when I'm working with someone into doing a behavior that maybe not that helpful? There's those CPD days, reading, I think, making sure that you're part of a community of other people who are learning, so that there are peers that you're with who will challenge you to go deeper, to go further. And for me, that is, as I said, really a lifelong thing. You never get to a point where that's enough, actually. There's also, I think, supervision is like the safety net for coaches. It's a place where you can go and learn more deeply about your practice, what's tripping you up, what's wonderful about your practice, and celebrate that with someone. And I think it's a really magical part of how you can keep learning and growing. It's also a safety net for your clients. So that place where you can go to talk about your client work freely, and you can be challenged to maybe take a slightly different approach with them. So it creates a sort of virtuous circle for you, your clients, and your future clients.